Hey everyone! First and foremost, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. Hopefully you're able to spend Christmas with the ones you love, or at least you get to have a couple nice days to yourselves to do what you enjoy the most. That is what I'll be doing, and that is why there will be a brief interruption to my uploads and streams, but I did want to make this video, which is a little bit different than what I usually do. So, you might know Sigurd from Fire Emblem 4. Pretty amazing guy if you ask most people, and not just the ones that are looking at how he performs in gameplay, you know, nerds like me. Sigurd is a good person. He tries to do the right thing. The only flaw in his personality, according to most people looking at him as an actor in the story of FE4, is that he is too naive. The tragedy with Sigurd is, supposedly, that if he had thought things through a little more, didn't keep conquering castle after castle, country after country, things didn't have to go as wrong as they did in FE4. By the way, if you have any plans to play FE4 blind and spoiler-free, consider this your warning that there will be spoilers. Anyway, Sigurd being too naive is not just the opinion of players analyzing this game in post, it's how Kaga intended the character to be. Let's read from a roundtable interview with him here. So, Kaga's asked, Sigurd and Deirdre were unusually smitten with each other from the moment they met. Is there any explanation for that? And he talks about Deirdre and Sigurd's relationship a bit, and he says, although Sigurd is the protagonist, he is also heavily flawed, his aforementioned love included. He is also extremely naive, even compared to Seleth. The tragedy would not have happened were he a more competent person. So what Kaga's basically saying is, had Sigurd made better choices, things didn't have to go as badly as they did. And this idea of Sigurd kind of being the cause of all the problems, a naive, brash person making the wrong choices, never really sat right with me. It was never the impression that I had after playing FE4. If anything, I thought Sigurd was a little plain because he was always just doing the right and logical thing to do every time he was at a crossroads. In fact, he never really seemed to be at a crossroads in the first place. He was just always straight into doing what seemed to be the best, obviously. Now, I might be a media illiterate dummy, and maybe that's just the conclusion I came to because Sigurd is the blue unit, who you're always playing as, so I never have any reason to ask myself if I'm the baddies, but I'm not the only one who had this idea. Let me introduce Sigurd Dies at the End, an FE4 choose your own adventure story, posted on Reddit by JustNefariousness55, link down below. This is a text-based simulation of FE4's story that explores the different branches in Sigurd's potential path. I had a couple run-throughs of it, and I think it's both pretty true to the character's intentions in FE4 as it is, and it's pretty funny. So we're gonna have a go at it, and I don't think it'll be fun if I explore every single possibility, but, you know, we'll see how far we get. So here it is, Sigurd Dies at the End. This is all you see on the website. It's 2 years old, but still relevant to this day, right? Just like FE4 as a piece of media. So I'll just be reading. Did Sigurd make all the right moves or all the wrong moves? Put yourself in his shoes and embark on his quest to find out for yourself. Oh no, some barbarian savages from Verdane have assaulted your borders while your father was away. To make matters worse, they've conquered Jungbai Castle and have kidnapped your childhood friend Adine. Do you ride out to meet them head on, hold up and defend yourself, or delegate a task to a subordinate? This is of course what we do in vanilla, but you know, that'd be boring, so let's do something else. Let's hole up and defend ourselves. You hole up and defend yourself from those scary bandits. Eventually, the main army returns from Isaac. They're not happy with you. Not only did you fail to save the villagers and Edane, but Lex and Azel, two young noble heirs, were killed too when they came to try and help you. You were stripped off of all your titles and disinherited. Oifi becomes the heir to Chalfi. To make matters worse, someone goes and murders the prince and then blames it on your father. And your father is killed, and soon after, Dukes Reptor and Langbolt mysteriously die. Elvis becomes emperor after wedding the previously unknown daughter of Prince Kurth. And you think this is all rather suspicious, but after your shameful actions in the Battle of Verdane, there's little you can do but watch as the world steadily grows worse and worse, as the Empire of Granville slowly becomes a locked empire once more. But hey, at least you're alive, you bloody coward. Actually, not the worst ending we could have gotten, because, you know, if we think of ourselves as Sigurd for a moment, as like a self-insert protagonist, then at least we survived, but is this a world worth surviving in? Probably not. I think this hints at what I think is my main issue with the FE4 story as a whole, and also the main, I think, counter-argument to Sigurd's naivete being kind of the catalyst cause of the problems in FE4. I think Manfroy is too much political power to be stopped by Sigurd or anyone, really. unless they just kind of randomly guess what's going on or reach out to someone. Manfroy both somehow stays completely invisible to pretty much everyone who could have stopped him in FE4, but also manipulates just about everyone in FE4 that had to be manipulated. He has his hands on Chagall, the King of Verdane, I forgot what his name was. I don't know, I won't remember probably. I think he manipulates Arvis, of course, that's the big one. And then Arvis in turn manipulates Langbalt and what's the other guy's name? Reptor. So really, Manfroy already has all the power and he's just kind of acting it out, but everyone is already basically strings on his fingers. He's like the puppet master. That's his thing. I don't think Sigurd could have done anything to stop it, and I think this Choose Your Own Adventure proves it pretty well. But we'll give it a couple more test runs. Like, I think most people can reasonably agree that most of the things that happen here, they're not canon. Like, we don't know if this is everything that would have happened if Sigurd makes these choices. No one can know that, of course. No one's idea is canon, and, you know, death of the author and everything. But it's not too far out there, right? Surely. So, let's embark on our quest once again. We do have to start over from the very beginning every time I want to choose a different path.
We actually don't have to start over. I just didn't realize that there was a button I could press to make it start over. Might be.
So, let's delegate the task to a subordinate. You like Alec because he has a turban, so you delegate the defense of the nation to him. Unfortunately, he's not quite as good as a commander as you. Some of your noble buddies, Azel, Lex, Quan, and Ethlin show up, but it still takes Alex some weeks to repel the invasion. He does have really bad strength. A lot of villages got burned down, so morale in your lands is pretty low. He does manage to eventually take Evan's castle though, but by that time, your father's back in town and taking charge. You mount Chalfie, while Byron acts badass. I think Phylon is like the more recent translation. These are using a pretty old translation. Byron has to face the combined might of Verdane and Augustria, who has joined the Bandit Nation for some reason. While Byron is away, Prince Kurth gets murdered. Things are not looking great. Your father is also apparently killed in battle, though there are mutterings of an assassination. Reptor and Langbalt finally arrive west and completely beat back Verdane and Augustria, putting both nations firmly under the thumb of Granville. Then, they somehow manage to get themselves killed on the return journey too. It's an epidemic of dukes getting murdered. Looks like it was wise of you to delegate the important stuff to other people. Alvis finds himself fetching a new wife, who happens to be Kurth's long-lost daughter. He declares himself Emperor of the New Grand Empire. Things seem good at first, but they slowly get worse and worse. You try to launch a rebellion after you're ordered to go on some child hunts, but you really don't have the manpower to accomplish much of anything. You die, your rebellion being a minor note on the history of the Lopped Empire. Again, arguably not exactly what would have happened depending on what and who does what. I think a good point to address though is what happens to Deirdre, and I think it's semi-canon, at least I read that somewhere on the internet, which must mean it's true, that Deirdre was already on the cusp of being found, and that's kind of provable because you can see the influence of the Lopped cult already extends to Verdane, where Deirdre is hiding, so it's not too unlikely that Deirdre is found even within her hiding place. So, and at that point, you know, all that needs to happen is that Manfroy or some other dark cult guy kidnaps her and brainwashes her, and that's what happens in the end with Sigurd anyway. So it doesn't seem super unlikely that happens, even in Verdane. In fact, it seems even more likely to happen in Verdane than where it actually happens in the main story. So yeah, it seems likely. And like, rebellions do get wrecked all the time in the Lopped Empire after it has been established. Like, this is definitely something that happens around like chapter 6, chapter 7. This gets narrated all the time. Alright, let's just do the vanilla thing. You ride out to meet them head on. Because your stats are amazing, you manage to easily repel the invasion, taking back Jungbai Castle and bringing the fight to them by taking Evans. The king is very pleased. His right-hand man Elvis even shows up to give you a sword, and informs you that you've been promoted to a holy knight. Your friend Elegant shows up, concerned about your actions, but he's a solid bro, so he has your back. Now that you have Evans, do you charge forward, or forget about Edain and just hold a defensive position? I guess we can try this one again. You hole up and defend yourself from those scary bandits. Eventually, the main army returns from Isaac. They're not very impressed with your ability as a holy knight. Seems getting the title encouraged you to become lazy. To make matters worse, someone goes and murders the prince and then blames it on your father. Your father is killed, and soon after, Dukes Reptor and Langbolt mysteriously die. Those poor guys never get a good ending, I think. Elvis becomes emperor after wedding the previously unknown daughter of Prince Kurth. You think this is all rather suspicious, but after your shameful actions in the battle against Verdane, there's little you can do but watch as the world steadily grows worse and worse, as the Empire of Granville slowly becomes the Lopped Empire once more. But hey, at least you're alive, you bloody coward. Kind of the same thing as when we just initially defended. Oh, oops. So this time, let's ride out, but then charge forward. You charge forward. Next castle is Genoa, but oh no, a skilled swordmaster from Isaac called Ira is guarding it. Do you avoid her and capture the castle, or kill her? What we do in vanilla is capture the castle, so let's kill Ira and see if we can keep going. You kill Ira and capture the castle, and inside you discover Shannon, the Prince of Isaac. He explains how Ira is his aunt and had no chance but to fight you. Oops, too late. But wait, this is the Prince of Isaac. Granville's at war with Isaac. Do you spare the kid? Kill the kid. Let's kill Shannon too. Why not? We're already killing the whole family anyway. Isaac is Granville's enemy, and this prince will surely grow up to be a king that wants revenge someday. Best to put him to the sword now. You get word from North that some Augustian lord tried to capture Evans while you were distracted. Good thing your bro Eldigan had your back. Yeah, get wrecked, Elliot. And it turns out Elaine got rescued by a thief named Dew. Nice. Now that you have your old friend back, do you continue the war or go home? Let's go home. Let's not meet Deirdre at all. That was the whole problem, right? Sigurd ran off with Deirdre, and because of that, Deirdre got found, kidnapped, etc. Let's go home. Edene is safe, and that's all you really care about. I think, by the way, this is like the main point where I think a lot of people say, okay, this is when Sigurd should have stopped if they hold that position. Verdane is still a threat, but you've given them such a thorough trouncing that they won't be pushing back anytime soon. You put someone in charge of Evans and return to Chalfie. Everyone is pleased that you killed the Prince of Isaac, but people are less pleased you just abandoned the war with Verdane when you were clearly winning. Overall, though, things are pretty chill for a while, but then out of nowhere, the prince is assassinated and your father is the prime suspect. Some soldiers come in to arrest you. Do you give yourself up and trust in justice, or prepare Chalfie's defenses and fight them off? This is like whole new timeline, but I think it makes some sense because I think the assassination of the Prince of Isaac was always on the books' planning, and pinning it on Sigurd and his family is always in the plan. And regardless of whether Sigurd is alive or not, they were planning on pinning it on his father. And if Sigurd's still alive, they can somehow implicate him for sure. In fact, I think that's even what happens in the main game, where they say that Sigurd and Byron conspired to kill the prince at some point. That is why he gets, I think, in trouble in Celeste, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, both of these are new, so I can't really follow the vanilla path here. But let's prepare Chalfie's defenses and fight them off. You'll never take me alive, you cry as you stick Arden on Chalfie's ramparts to defend you. Then you leave Arden where he is, sortie, and just kill all the soldiers yourself. But now you're in a pickle, as you've killed official messengers from the king. Of course, your father has been falsely arrested, so it's not like you had a choice. Only thing you can do now is fight your way to Valhalla and get to the bottom of this. I think Valhalla is the modern translation, for those of you confused. So basically, Chapter 5 only with the endgame map. Except, you only have half your army since you abandoned the canon path and went home before even recruiting Lewin. Also, we killed Ira. And Byron isn't even here to give you turfing, since Langbolt naturally still has him at the Celeste border area. So needless to say, with no holy weapon and only half your army, getting past Mjolnir and Hellswath, Swanshik, or whatever it's called now, is pretty much impossible. And even if you do, Alvis just roasts you at the end. Goodbye, Sigurd. He dies at the end, turns out. Is that a first Sigurd ending? I don't know. What if we give ourselves up, I wonder? Ride out, charge forward, kill her, kill the kids, and we do go home, but now we give ourselves up and trust in justice. You accept the accusations of colluding with your father to seize the throne, determined to get a good lawyer to represent you and fairly analyze the matter. But the proverbial Phoenix Wright is nowhere to be found. Reptor and Langbolt declare you a traitor and toss you in a dungeon with your father. While you are in jail, Alvis finds Deirdre and marries you. Reptor, Langbolt, and Alvis eventually get each other killed trying to control the kingdom from each other, with no one expecting the harmless little heir Julius of being trouble until too late. But hey, at least you're alive in a cell to witness all this. Who knows, maybe you escape at some point and put things right. But that's way too speculative to explore in the scope of this project. So this is some kind of FE5 style escape chapter. Maybe this could have been 3676 but with Sigurd instead, you know what I mean? Let's try and see how far we can get into vanilla timeline before we can make a different choice. So let's ride out, let's charge forward. You know, let's spare Ira this time. Let's spare Shannon this time. Isaac might be Granville's enemy, but the kid is still just a kid. He's not to blame. You go outside and recruit Ira, who stops fighting when she sees her nephew is safe. You get word from North that some Augustrian lord tries to capture Evans while you were distracted. Good thing your bro Eldigan had your back. Turns out he ain't got rescued by Dedu, but not by Dedu, by Do. Nice. Now that you got your old friend back to you, let's continue the war. A day might be safe, but those savages broke a peace treaty. You need to get to the bottom of things. You proceed onwards and capture Marfa Castle. While wandering the streets there, you find a damn fine girl getting harassed by 2 thugs. Do you rescue the fair maiden or ignore the whole thing and move on? Let's ignore Deirdre. You ignore the commotion and get back to your war. A dark priest proves to be a bit difficult to handle, but you still manage it. Inside the castle, you discover the King of Verdane barely holding on to life. He blames all his actions on an evil cult that seeks to resurrect the Dark God Loptir. Not much you can do about it now, however. You have more overt problems. The neighboring king has just been assassinated. You're instructed to guard Evan's castle in case of an Augustrian assault. You're pretty confident nothing bad will happen because Eldigan is your bro, but then you hear he's been imprisoned and his sister is in danger. Do you rush to Lachesis' aid or hold up in Evans? Let's help her out. You rush to her aid and save her, and because we assume you're good at this game, you save her bodyguard too and do it all quickly enough to get the bargain ring. Augustria seems to be in chaos. There are bandits attacking everywhere. Do you try to clean this mess up by conquering half of Augustria, or let Augustria burn itself down and go home? Let's clean it all up. You conquer half of Augustria and almost kill King Chagall when your bro Eldigan turns up looking for an explanation. He is not happy with you. Also, you recruit Lewin, whatever, who's actually a super important character. Eldigan and Chagall retreat north. You try to restore order with the intention of returning control to southern Austria to its rightful ruler, but Granville doesn't seem too on board with that idea. After 6 months, Chagall decides he's not on board with Granville and launches a counterattack. By the way, I always thought that this point where like Granville nobles acting super corrupt in Augustria, that was a very like tell don't show thing that they did in FE4 that you never really feel the proper impact to. I think if they wanted to show that, I reckon they should have had nobles kind of replace the bandits in Chapter 3. Because the bandits in Chapter 3 are just like pirates from Orga Those don't really come in until later. They might still have had to have pirates anyway, just because I think the plot point of them going behind Bridget's back, since they don't respect her, was pretty good. So maybe have a little bit of both. Have like the nobles come by the villages to get their taxes or something. I think that would have been cool. Anyway, do we meet Chagall's counterattack or do we hole up in the capital? Let's keep going with the vanilla route for now, minus the part where we like ignore Deirdre. Because like she's not gonna get kidnapped now, right? You ride out to meet the Augustrian forces, but oh no, your bro Eldigan wants to fight you. You either fight him or get his sister to convince him to not fight, and he gets executed. The result doesn't really make a difference. Your best friend is still dead and you feel shitty. To make matters worse, you have been branded a traitor by Dukes Reptor and Langbolt. They accuse you of harboring the Isaac Prince, which is true, but you didn't mean anything by it. I actually don't remember what happens if we just murder Shannon here. I kind of want to find it out now. On the good side, you found Bridget, the missing heir of Jungbai. Claude, the Duke of Edda, and Tiltu, Reptor's daughter, have also shown up. Claude used magic to tell you about the 2 other Dukes' sinister intentions, but it didn't really make a lick of difference. All hope seems lost when suddenly an envoy from Celeste appears offering you sanctuary. Celeste is another kingdom entirely. Why do you trust your innocence? You try to get the envoy to explain, but she urges you to move quickly. Time is of the essence. Do you trust the envoy and flee to Celeste, or try to make it on your own? I also haven't seen this one, but let's do this one. You flee to Celeste. While you're there, you meet Queen Rana and discover that Lewin is her son, though there's some family stuff going on there that has nothing to do with you. There's also a bit of a civil war that does have something to do with you, as Granville gets slightly involved, mostly just to spite you. You help Queen Rana win, but you feel pretty sure Granville is going to invade soon if you hang around in Celeste much longer. Do you go on the offensive against Granville or stay in Celeste? Let's go on the offensive against Granville. I think the only change we've made from vanilla so far is the Deirdre thing. So let's see what happens with there. Although I have a pretty strong suspicion. You go on the offensive, and while battling Granville, you find your father, who for some bizarre reason, Langbolt decided to keep alive long enough for him to give you the Divine Sword Turfing. Feeling super extra awesome, you solo the rest of the chapter. You get word that your bro Quan and your sister Ethlyn died fighting Thracians in the desert, which really sucks. Not much you could have done about it though. As you approach Valhalla, you get a sinking feeling in your stomach. Duke Alvis has been neutral in this conflict according to all the information you could source. You assume that means he is your enemy. But in the midst of battle, his general Idar turns on Reptor. You win! Hooray! Ida says Alvis believed in your innocence all along and invites you to come return to the capital to have a parade in your honor. There's some talk of a barbecue afterwards too. Let's take Alvis up on his offer. Remember, we ignored Deirdre. She's like, she's fine, right? She might come out though. Everything looked like it was coming up, Sigurd, but then that dastard Alvis betrayed you. Unfortunately, you die in agonizing hellfire. Just before he kills you, Alvis parades his new wife out in front of you. It's the girl from the Spirit Forest who let sexually get assaulted by thugs. Damn, that escalated quickly. Wow, you feel really embarrassed. Looks like ignoring her wasn't smart because the Loptech still found her. I guess she was already sort of wandering around, so it wasn't difficult. That's true, she wasn't like Marfa Castle or something. Deirdre and Alvis produce an heir with major Lopt blood. Lopt Empire is established and everything is really shitty. Levin is revived by the Book of Forseti and tries to set up a resistance. He has a little luck with Leaf, but not enough to actually make it past chapter 19 of Thracia 776. On Fortnite. Let's do one more. What are we gonna do here? We ride out, we charge forward, we killed Isaac, kill the kid, rip Shannon. Going home here doesn't seem great. Let's continue to war for a little bit. Let's rescue the fair maiden, because clearly this fate is better for her. Like, at least she doesn't get assaulted. Okay, this is new. You rescue the fair maiden. She's very appreciative and gives you the eyes, but then she runs away. A convenient nearby villager informs you that she's called Deirdre. She's from the Spirit Force and that a great disaster will befall the world if she ever gets laid. To you, that sounds like a challenge. Okay. You head deeper into Verdane. Along the way, you recruit Jamka, the only handsome-looking guy on the Verdane royal family tree. You also stumble upon that girl Deirdre again. She warns you about a dark mage guy in the castle ahead. She's still giving you the eyes. This girl definitely likes you. She even says she will go with you to help fight the evil priest dude. But wait, what about the warning that villager gave? That's screw Deirdre. Ignore the warning. You kill the dark priest and discover the king of Verdane barely holding on to life. He blames all his actions on an evil cult that seeks to resurrect the dark god Loptir. Could this have something to do with the disaster that would befall the world if Deirdre ever gets laid? An alternate scene, if Sanumas killed first, confirms that yes, she has the dark god's blood in her veins. Do you ignore this issue and marry Deirdre? Burn Deirdre alive. Standard protocol for demon spawn. Sure, let's do that. Surely nothing will go wrong. Okay, so we burn Deirdre alive, and that will teach her for being born. Now you feel confident that the disaster has been averted. However, the world still isn't rosy. The neighboring king has just been assassinated. You're instructed to guard Evan's castle in case of an Augustian assault. You're pretty confident nothing bad will happen because Eldigan's your bro, but then you hear he's been imprisoned, and his sister is in danger. Alright, let's help out. I forgot what happens if you kill Deirdre. Rush Lakeith's aid. Clean up the mess. Meet the counterattack. Let's see. Oh, we've been branded a traitor. I think this is just vanilla text. Because before they were like, oh, you were harboring the Prince of Isaac, which was true, but then we're not anymore. Oh, actually, I wonder how that goes in vanilla. Is that brought up at all? No, right? Probably not. Because, like... do you still get Shannon in vanilla if you kill Ira? Probably, right? Surely you still get Shannon, because he's in Gen 2. Yeah. Okay. So I guess you just have Shannon around, but you kill, even though you killed Ira. That's kind of messed up in a way. Okay, anyway, this is all the same. So let's try and make it to Celeste on our own then, I guess. I kind of want to see what happens with no Deirdre, but fuck it. Let's try and make it on our own. Do we not? You reject the offer of the Envoy and try to escape the approaching forces of Granville on your own. Unfortunately, you're headed off by Duke Andre as you head east. You find yourself surrounded on all sides and are killed by Raptor's men. Damn. I guess they get a good ending here. Until, you know, Elvis probably backstabs them anyway. Okay, hold up. One more. Charge forward. Kill her. Kill the kid. Damn, I'm turning into like a massive murderer here. Continue the war. Rescue the fair maiden. Recruit her. Then kill her. Help Lachesis. Clean up the mess. Meet the counterattack. Trust the envoy. I mean, if we stay here, we're probably just gonna get arrested. So go on the offensive against Granville. Murdering Ida probably also gets us arrested because like that Elvis probably wouldn't like that. So let's take him up as an offer. See what happens with no Deirdre alive. Everything looked like it was coming up, Sigurd, but then a dastard Elvis betrayed you. Unfortunately, you die in hellfire. Elvis has united the land under one banner and declares himself Lord Protector of the Realm. The Lopt sects try to manipulate him into making Jukdron his evil empire, but because he doesn't have a wife and son, he's not so distracted and catches on to their game. Unfortunately, Elvis dies without an heir, and the entire continent erupts into civil war. The two largest factions rally behind Elvis' dastard son Sias and Lenoan, Duchess of Terra, who is an indirect descendant of Haim. The history books record Elvis' reign as a prosperous one, despite the chaos that followed, and Sigurd is mostly forgotten about, being a minor footnote, his reputation forever stained as a rebel. Damn, that's messed up. There's another one there where I think there's something with Claude ending up in power for a bit. I don't remember the sequence of getting there. I thought that was what I was going for, but I guess that's not this one. It might be when Sigurd is like arrested earlier, because then Claude is still free. Like, I think he gets off easy. But I'll leave that one for you all to discover. This has been long enough, but I hope you enjoyed the What If FE4 experience. If you want to play it, link will be in the description. I think it does a pretty good job of proving the point too. It's not just funny to play. Oh wait, is this a back button? Oh, this is the back button. I didn't even realize it was there. Damn, well there you go. Now you have one. I didn't have to do that whole thing the whole time. Well, extra entertainment for you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and have a great Christmas, and I'll be seeing you after Christmas.